Well, hello everybody out there in Interland. This is Chris from HHN with another exciting episode of Topher's Vlog. Look, I am over this fucking year. There has been so much grief, so much devastation, so much sadness, so much despair, so much just awful, awful things happening in this world this year. And, you know, when I did the video last time, I had made mention of, when I started doing the videos, when I was doing the videos during the start of the pandemic, I just kind of didn't have the fire anymore to do any more videos. And then when I had the vertigo attack a couple of weeks ago, I just, my desire and passion to do videos just kind of faded even more. And then after I did that video, literally a couple of days after, I was restruck again with a flare-up of diverticulitis, which put me into the ER, and I was recovering from that for a week. So, there has been a lot of just bad stuff happening this year, and I've been trying to continue to do these videos because I think people need some kind of a, I don't particularly find myself that entertaining, or even what I do to be very important, but, if I can add a little bit of joy to people's lives, then so be it. And we can talk about one of our favorite subjects, which is Halloween Horror Nights. More power to, to everybody who, just wants to, is trying to find an outlet to, or a way that they can just decompress, because this year has just been terrible. And while I don't have the desire to do the videos like I did before, it is kind of therapeutic to sit here and actually do these videos and talk about something that is exciting and talk about stuff that I like and that, you all who do watch me like, and, and I appreciate that as well, people who still follow me and watch me and stuff like that, but it is what it is. Of course, today is, I'm recording this on a Saturday, Friday night, we had the tragic passing of Chadwick Boseman, the actor who played Black Panther. I mean, it's just like, I at the very young age of 43, but yeah, so it's just been, this year's just been crazy, but, it is what it is. With that being said, let's talk about, I appreciate everyone who still watches me and who still try to stick with me. My goal was to try to reveal all this stuff, my systematic reveal of the event, which I said the last video, that's probably going to be the videos you're going to get from me for the time being. I had originally planned to reveal all this stuff before the original start date of Halloween Horror Nights 30, but that's not going to happen. Things are going to be a little bit later, and because something else is happening too that I'll try to talk about at the end of the video, or talk about as much as I can later on. So with that being said, let's go ahead and let's reveal. Today we're going to talk about our first scare zone. In fact, we're going to talk about our first 3 scare zones of the event. These ideas, one of them is actually one of my more recent ideas and is not actually as fleshed out as some of the other ones, the other 2 that you're going to hear about. So I apologize if things don't sound too detailed in that one. But and once again, I don't have any key art for this. I just didn't have the time. And like I said before, my Photoshop skills are not exactly the best. So, I mean, I did try with the first 2, but I just didn't have the time because I'm working on something else that's sort of taking up a little bit, 2 more things really that's sort of taking up my time. So I did not have the time to work on key art for this, but we can talk about what the descriptions are and what's going on, so on and so forth. So let's get started. First and foremost, like I said, 3 scare zones. So this one is called The Awakening. A dig for a new subway line has uncovered an ancient tomb buried deep underground. Foolishly, the tomb has been opened, unleashing an ancient, slumbering monster upon the world. Now, the city has been decimated, most of its citizens transformed into hideous monsters, and the military is on the brink of failure. The end is inevitable. So, Awakening is my idea for the scare zone in the New York area. Obviously, the digging of the subway line. I kind of had this idea, taking over our favorite spot, the spot over the bus stop, as sort of the centerpiece for this. I sort of envision maybe a little bit of like a backhoe or something there, and you've got the the dig site is dug up, and then maybe they've got some fog and smoke effects coming out of, and lighting effects coming out of the hole. where the monsters come out of. You know, and I just, you know, because New York kind of lends itself to these sort of chaotic scare zones, whether it's The Purge or whether it's, you know, the one from 2016, which the name escapes me at the moment, The Fall of Atlanta, still kind of had that, you know, sort of chaotic vibe to it. And yes, even taking off of that, The Fall of Atlanta did have a tank. I do envision a tank coming in with the military. You know, just chaos. The military trying to, you know, destroy the monsters. And then you've got the minions, of course, the citizens who have been transformed by this monster into his sort of herd, trying to turn other people into these minions. You know, these sort of grotesque monster mutant type creatures who are doing the creature's bidding. Obviously, this has a little bit of a take on H.P. Lovecraft, and it's sort of inspired by that a little bit. You know, maybe even some Godzilla in there too. You know, I try to think about what could be practical with these as well. And I sort of envision like a creature somewhere, like maybe the head of a creature sitting on top of one of the buildings in New York, and maybe you've got a little show scene that happens throughout the course of the night where the military comes together and they try to fire on it or something like that, and you know, they fail miserably to sort of defeat it. But yeah, so that's kind of my idea. It's sort of like like I said, H.P. Lovecraft inspired a little bit with the monster, sort of end of the world type thing. Godzilla a little bit in there as well, with the military coming in and trying to destroy it. So yeah, so I think that would be a fun zone. This is one of the ones that I wrote a long time ago. You know, so this one I've actually thought about a lot more. So you know, I have a lot more ideas. But yeah, so just envision a chaotic New York area of the park there with you know, military running around and these mutant monsters running around, and even some of the citizens who have not been turned yet trying to escape and warning you as you you know, as you walk through the city. So yeah, so that is Awakening, located in the New York section of the park. For our next scare zone, Toon Evil. Toon Evil is our next scare zone. So grotesque, demented, and evil, these monstrous creations have leapt out of their realms and into ours. And the joke is on us. They are ready to wreak havoc and chaos by turning our world into theirs, starting with us as the canvas. So this is the one that I've written the most recently, or thought about the most recently. I started thinking about this last year. So the idea here is that you have these sort of evil toons, as a Toon Evil, evil cartoons, right? There's a man I sort of envision who's been like drawing these like grotesque cartoons and whatnot, and they sort of leap off the page and come into our world, and they're sort of trying to turn our world into their sort of drawn landscape, right? You know, maybe with lighting effects on the buildings, and you've got the fog and stuff, and then the actual scare actors are being transformed into their own versions of these grotesque cartoons. You know, and they're sort of lumbering around, and those are the things that scare you. But then you have like the main sort of you know, drawings that this person has done. I didn't really come up. See, again, I didn't really flesh out this one as much, but just stay with me here. So the guy who's been drawing these cartoons, or the how do I put this? The origin of where these cartoons come from. You know, he's like, you know, twisted and demented. So like, you know, imagine like a sketchbook filled with just these grotesque sort of ideas, and maybe even Del Toro inspired sort of caricatures and stuff like that. And they've leapt off the page and have come into our world, and are trying to create that whole hellscape that's in the sketchbook and from this guy's mind into our world. So they're basically turning human beings into those creations as well. So that's kind of my thought about this. Hollywood is an interesting space to sort of put scare zones in, because it's not as expansive as the New York section of the park is, but it is very wide as you walk through there. You know, and there's a lot of options to sort of use lighting effects off the buildings and stuff, and you could also do some really cool props and stuff like that on the sides of the roads there. So you know, maybe you know, you've got pages of this sketchbook being plastered all over the walls of Hollywood, and you know, so the images and stuff like that. So just very kind of dark and twisted. This kind of comes from an old movie that I saw. I probably shouldn't have seen when I was a kid. I believe it was called Evil Tunes. That I rented when I was very young at a mom and pop shop up there in upstate New York. These sort of demented cartoons coming to life and whatnot. You know, so that's kind of where this falls into. But a lot more dark, a lot more sort of Del Toro inspired in terms of the creations and stuff. Originally, I had thought about, you know, taking, you know, IP cartoons and sort of, you know, evil-fying those cartoons, but I thought it would be a little bit more interesting to do more of an original take, where it's this person's sketchbook, and he's just this demented human being's sketchbook, and these creations come to life, and they sort of wreak havoc on our world, and are trying to create our world into looking like their world. So there's that. So that's Toon Evil. That's over in Hollywood. So we're going to move on. Our next scare zone is going to be Canyon of Dark Souls, Kiss of Death. The overwhelming sense of death surrounds you once again. These dark entities that inhabit the canyon are hungry. If you decide to traverse the canyon, be warned. Their hunger is ravenous, and they seek out those with the blackest of hearts for food. They will suck out your soul, and those who are lucky will only die. So those who, this is located in Production Central, by the way. So it's the main drag when you first walk into the park. Leading into New York. So those who remember Canyon of Dark Souls, that is from 2011, Halloween Horror Nights Halloween Horror Nights 21, and it was located in the only section, the only time a scare zone has been located in the old World Expo section. This was before the Simpsons revamp there. This was kind of one of my biggest disappointments for a scare zone of all time. This idea of creating a canyon I thought was really interesting and really cool. It had never really been done before. And I was kind of interested to see what they would do with it. And they didn't really do what I thought. I mean, the canyon was basically just a bunch of garbage bags. And like the creatures were kind of disappointing and whatnot. So I wanted to do sort of a sequel to this and sort of up it a little bit and sort of create more of a story where these creatures aren't just lumbering around. Like the reason why they're lumbering around is because they feed off of like evil, or not evil, but souls that have darkness in them, right? So that's kind of where they get their power, where they get their energy from. And I think that Production Central lends a little bit of a better area to sort of quote unquote make a canyon. And this is all like, you know, let's pretend that the parade doesn't exist, and we can put up, you know, actual things there to make it look like a canyon. I think the sides would be okay, like if you, as long as you kept it off the street, but you can sort of create, you know, on the in front of the buildings of Shrek and Despicable Me, put something up there so that it looks like a canyon. Maybe something a little bit more looking like a canyon instead of just you know, black garbage bags. I think that would be a lot better to sort of do. So they're kind of looking. That's their whole purpose. They're kind of you know, people who come through the canyon. They sort of look for the ones who have the blackest of hearts, and they feed off that energy. And then you know, the whole idea being, you know, if the energy that they're feeding off of, that they take from you, if that kills you, it's better for you, because those who, you know, haven't necessarily been killed are actually, they become one of these entities that live in the canyon. So, or they become an ally, you know, like a minion or something like that in the canyon. So, yeah. So, and I like the idea of bringing back another scare zone and sort of, you know, maybe making it, you know, plussing it, as it were, making it a little bit better than what it was the first time. So let's go over what we currently have for houses right now. We have Disco Hellferno, we have The X-Files You Will Believe, we have The Visitors, and we also have Night of the Living Dead, the all black and white glorious Night of the Living Dead that we talked about last time. And let's quickly go over the scare zones. We have Awakening, located over there in New York. We have Canyon of Dark Souls, Kiss of Death, located in Production Central. And we also have Toon Evil, located over there in the Hollywood section of the park. So that does it for this episode of Topher's Log. I did want to go over one little thing. I do have, or was able to obtain the sought after vinyl here that they sold last week, last Friday, I guess it was, at the in the Tribute store. This is going to come into play in a couple weeks, so stay tuned. I did manage to get 2 of them, so wink, wink, nudge, nudge. I don't really want to talk about too much of what could or could not be happening, but I know there was a lot of confusion going around social media with the graphic that was posted by a bunch of different theme park sites and horror sites out there. Just be patient, you know, wait for that 31st, and I hope that what is bubbling will give people a little bit of joy, you know, especially like how I started this whole video. Things are just so sucky this year, and, you know, any little bit that, you know, can help lift people's spirits, I think would be a good thing. So, so stay tuned for that. And because of that, I might not do a video next week. So, you know, I'm going to be busy with other things and sort of doing other things. So I'll leave it at that before I say too much. So that's it. So yeah, so I will see you guys in 2 weeks. Bye.